Day 1176 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzie here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 669,000 military personnel losses, representing an additional 1,240 losses in the past day. Then as for hardware, 2 tanks, 14 APVs, 47 artillery, and 3 air defense systems. Then headed straight to the map, to the Ukrainian map, due to Russia receiving a bit of a reprieve from Ukrainian strikes in most recent times as Ukraine steps into direct talks with Russia tomorrow. Unfortunately, Russia has not been extending the same courtesy, firing 145 Shahed drones in the past day. 80 shot down and an additional 42 lost due to electronic warfare or malfunction, and a further 23 unaccounted for, with Russia not exactly acting in good faith here, with more than an outside chance that calling for these direct talks, alongside fleeting ceasefires, being used as a means to severely limit Ukrainian UAV flights into Russia. But that can only last for so long. Now, as for the map, where over the past 2 weeks, Russian forces have captured 130 square miles of land, with 17,000 Ivans, Sergeys, and Vladimirs lost from a combined 2,700 attacks, which represents minimal gains despite the high number of attacks, as the trend shows increased attacks intensity alongside decreased density of attacks involving fewer resources, limiting their offensive potential, and as part of sending poorly trained recruits into highly attritional infantry assaults as a means to make grinding advances, despite enduring a higher casualty rate per square kilometer gained. Think of it like saving $100 a week. You can set your goal for saving $500,000, just as per the 500,000 square kilometers required to capture Ukraine with, but it will take you a couple of lifetimes to do so, with no benefit to be found in compound interest for Russia's armed forces. And speaking of these creep gains, Russian forces crossed the highway between Pokrovsk and Toretsk into the settlement of Byatir within the last day. It's a move that aims to threaten disrupting Ukrainian supply lines in the rear and signals Russia's intent to pressure the T-509 corridor, which contains some significant layers of defense just beyond. And once again, it's also a location where Ukrainian troops say fighting never paused in the greater Pokrovsk region during Russia's self-imposed and fleeting 3-day ceasefire. Then headed to the south to occupied Tokmak inside of Zaporizhia, where there was an early morning fire affecting shopping stalls, with Russian sources attributing the blaze to Ukrainian UAVs, but where Ukrainian sources deny involvement, stating the incident was due to Russian air defense errors. No casualties were reported, but several shopping stalls burned down. Also for Tokmak, seeing just the prior day, locally based defiant Atesh partisans posted leaflets which were spotted around town. And so, given the increase in partisan activity seen in the occupied territories in recent times, it gives the impression they're moving with more freedom than before, likely helped by Russia's need to funnel manpower to every front, leaving fewer boots behind to play street patrol or internal enforcer. Then somewhere on this front, between Robotina and Velika Novosilka, Ukraine has fired a grenade launcher from an FPV drone for the first time in combat. Footage released by drone maker Wild Hornets shows the Queen of Hornets quadcopter, that's right, just a quadcopter, 4 rotors, launching a grenade, likely a Bulgarian bullspike, with the strike carried out by the Belava drone unit of the 3rd Mechanized Battalion, which hits open terrain with lethal effect. So Ukraine just went from dropping to launching grenades mid-flight. That shift from gravity drops to aerial firing means FPV drones can now strike from angles and distances previously impossible. So, as for an update tally or refresher, we've now seen a few drones equipped with shotguns, AK-47s and 74s, a handful of pistols, and now grenade launchers, all used as a means of aimed firing, as opposed to your classic drone-dropped munitions. And of it, Ukraine is making leaps and bounds in heavy heavy lift drone technology, and doing so at a time when the Russian forces are still attempting to master the basics of heavy drones. In fact, just the other day we saw more Russian makeshift attempts as they pieced together 4 separate FPVs, making for an inefficient infield 16 rotor design. Not to mention all of the other ghastly unique and very special designs we've seen as well. But that's what military corruption does. You can't equip your forces to get the real deal, the platforms that are needed, that should be built from the ground up, as opposed to being built on the ground. So this latest grenade launcher design, and now combat tested, is a new milestone with some incredible innovation in Ukraine's growing arsenal of improvised deadly precision drones. Then, in a similar spirit of drone warfare innovation, at least in a similar Ukrainian spirit, the AFU was at it again, this time combining a US Switchblade 600 with a Javelin missile warhead. This one instead is designed to ram head-on, and specifically with a warhead that is similar in design to that of the FGM-148 Javelin warhead. So it's a Javelin-like tandem charge, anti-armor warhead derivative, great for tanks, but with the absence of Russian tanks in some regions. On this account, was reported to have hit a few targets, including a Buk M3 air defense system and a Russian Uragan multiple rocket launcher. Then next up, somewhere on the map, a personal best was seen from the crew of the AFU's 47th Separate Artillery Brigade, who, with the use of one of Ukraine's modernized 2S-22 Bodana self-propelled guns, took out 2 Russian D-30 towed howitzers, just moments and meters apart, with incredible accuracy on this 155mm artillery and NATO standard platform. Also on the map and shot down on the shores of Odessa, a Russian Garan 2, a UAV strike platform, with the writing on the left wing saying, "There will be no truce." Moscovia's message looks clear. Their drones are messengers of a fragile empire trying to scare Ukraine into silence and submission. Then headed across to some news where so far it looks to be that Putin is still dodging Zelensky, as the Ukrainian president confirmed his attendance at peace talks in Istanbul tomorrow the 15th, and has publicly challenged Russian President Vladimir Putin to join him. Zelensky emphasized that Putin's presence would signal Russia's commitment to ending the war, stating, quote, "If he does not arrive, he does not want the war to end." With the Kremlin remarking on the matter that a Russian delegation will attend the talks, but has not specified who will represent Russia, although possibly with Foreign Minister Lavrov playing a role. But isn't that just a bit strange? Putin calling for bilateral talks over the weekend, up very late at night, but now, and just a day before, not even making it clear who's coming. It doesn't exactly project the image of a leader genuinely seeking peace. There was also some previous comments from the Kremlin remarking about Putin having work meetings on at the time, and even something about attending a restaurant. It's all very bizarre. On the other hand, this could be part of Putin's paranoia, advising of his attendance just hours before the meeting as part of his security measures. But for the record, Turkey is not a member of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, The Hague, and has not ratified the Rome Statute, meaning that Turkey has no legal obligation to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin due to the ICC arrest warrant out against him if he visits the country. Now, if Putin were to make a surprise show, it's the best diplomatic move he could make, as opposed to his having a genuine desire for peace, because it would likely amount to further but temporary halts on harsh economic sanctions imposed on the country. The key word there would be temporary, as most international players' patience is wearing thin on Putinian stalling tactics. Then in some more news, and as for those spoken of sanctions, a vast array of these were on the table set for this week, until Putin dangled Istanbul talks like bait, leading to the UK, the US, and the EU and Germany, as part of some separate rounds of sanctions, all holding back. Instead, opting to await the outcome of the face-to-face Russia-Ukraine talks tomorrow, as these countries and the EU as a whole give Russia every possible opportunity to do the right thing, every last chance, before wreaking further havoc on the Russian economy. Even now, new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is done waiting, stating that if there is no movement on ceasefire talks this week, the EU's sanctions hammer is coming down hard and hit where it hurts most on Russia's energy and finance sectors. But also, Washington's new package might even top the charts as the harshest yet, as per Special Envoy Kellogg had warned. Then, more broadly in news, French President Emmanuel Macron has proposed extending France's nuclear deterrent to other European countries, signalling in a significant shift in European defense strategy. In a recent interview, Macron indicated France's willingness to discuss deploying nuclear-armed aircraft in allied nations, akin to the US practice of stationing nuclear weapons in countries like Germany and Italy. Macron emphasized that while France's nuclear arsenal would remain under national control, its use could encompass the defense of European allies, reflecting a broader interpretation of protecting France's national security interests. The Kremlin has already criticized Macron's remarks, arguing that spreading nuclear weapons across Europe would not enhance security or stability, which perhaps inherently suggests to do the opposite of what Russia says. Kremlin spokesperson Peskov also added on these remarks to state, quote, "Right now, the entire system of strategic stability and security is in a deplorable state for obvious reasons." Obvious reasons indeed. Then to some hardware or hardware-adjacent news with the EU, who is pulling over 1.9 billion euros from the profits of frozen Russian assets to purchase weapons and ammunition for Ukraine as part of the latest round of quarterly disbursement from immobilized Russian sovereign assets held within the EU. A little over half the funds, €1 billion, will go to Ukraine's budding defense industry, which is an understatement to say, as it's rapidly turning into the biggest single defense producer in the world on a few metrics already, starting with artillery SPGs, short-range FPVs, longer-range UAVs for deep strike one-way attacks, unmanned naval platforms, and potentially unmanned ground vehicles as well. Now, as for the remaining €900 million, that will go to additional EU weapons procurement. Then to a couple of quick bites of Russian hardware news, of a sort. Seen here are some of the images of a loadout for a North Korean soldier fighting for Russia. It was no more than 10 days ago when Russia vehemently denied North Koreans' involvement in the SMO, but fast forward to now, confirming it at the highest levels of government. Though it should be noted that, later on when this becomes an inconvenient truth for Russia on the geopolitical stage, Russia would almost certainly recommence denying DPRK soldier usage in an instant. It's all about whatever is convenient for them to say at the time. It's how they operate. Then to another Russian hardware update, where a Russian soldier shows an evacuation of an injured soldier by means of their latest standard in medevac technology, a stolen bike, perhaps? And I guess no irony in the following, where the Russian soldier that was filming the footage pointed to a burned armored personnel carrier, stating it was supposed to be the evacuation vehicle of choice. Then to a quick funny to round off the video today. So Russia has a long habit of outsourcing its patriotism, from using foreign actors in war tributes to even using Ukrainian soldiers, like this one most recently, a soldier of Ukraine's Azov Brigade, a mural dedicated to the so-called Victory Day. Tyrion Lannister also made an appearance, along with, apparently, an adult film star from the 1990s. Now, all of this is nothing new for Russia, who has used all sorts of people, symbols, US aircraft carriers, and spaceships from the film Avatar to promote their national military image, past and present. Not to mention, like this case, becoming so caught up in this overt nationalism, riding with Soviet flags on cars, leading to not seeing what's right in front of them. Crash. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe if not already, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers!